You know that feeling, right? Staring at some complex system. Maybe it's your home network, maybe something critical at work, and suddenly it's just not working. That kind of sinking feeling, like, okay, what now? And how do I even start to untangle this? Feels a bit like a digital crime scene, you know? And you're the detective, but instead of a magnifying glass, you've got these like, cryptic commands, huge log files, weird utilities. So today, we're doing a deep dive into exactly that. Advanced troubleshooting for these kinds of complex systems, our mission. We're taking some really technical stuff specifically, insights from practice questions for the 156-587 exam, and we're pulling out the practical, useful bits, the surprising facts. We really want you to walk away feeling, well-informed about how deep-level system diagnostics actually works. Think of it like a shortcut to figuring out what's really broken.
Yeah, and what's really interesting here, even though these are exam questions, they cut right to the chase. They really pinpoint the specific ways things fail and the exact tools and fixes that separate, guessing from actual troubleshooting. These aren't just abstract ideas. They highlight the tools, the concepts, stuff IT pros use every single day. We'll be looking at some checkpoint tools today, sure, but the thinking behind it, that's universal.
Okay, so let's dive in. When a system goes sideways, where do you even begin? Rule number one, I guess, is find the clues. But where are those first breadcrumbs usually hidden? What are the first places you look?
Well, you start looking for specific messages, specific files, things that point to a real breakdown. For example, if you're dealing with a centralized logging system like Check Point Smart Log, you'd often find critical info in a file called indexerrors.lh.
Indexerrors.ld, okay. But
Yeah.
why that file? I mean, aren't logs usually huge? What makes an indexing error file so critical?
It's because it's such a direct sign, a really early indicator of a pretty big problem. Knowing about indexerrors.lg, it's not just a file name. It tells you if your whole logging system's index is broken. And if that's broken, you're basically flying blind, right? You can't even search the logs properly for other clues. This file logs recent smart log indexing errors, specifically to help admins spot and fix those issues. Think of it like a library where the card catalog is just busted. The file tells you why you can't find anything.
Ah, okay, that makes sense. You can't solve the mystery if you can't even look up the clues. Now, here's something interesting. Sometimes knowing what success looks like is just as important, maybe more so. So let's say a user tries to connect through a VPN. What specific message tells you, yep, they got in successfully? In the logs, I mean.
Right, the magic phrase you're looking for, the one that gives you that little sigh of relief, is simply user authenticated. Huh. That confirms they passed the authentication step. And connecting that to the bigger picture, seeing that message is actually a huge troubleshooting branch point. If you see user authenticated, you immediately stop worrying about passwords or the VPN server itself. You pivot, right? Now you look at network access, firewall rules, maybe application issues further down the line. It's like the clearest signal you can get that this part worked, saving you a ton of time.
Okay, got it. So you've gathered some initial clues, maybe seen a success or an error message. Now what? You can't just stare at the logs. You need to actually do something, right? Take control. So what are some of those like heavy hitter commands, the ones that let you directly intervene?
Yeah, absolutely. Often you need to interact directly. So for secure connections like VPN tunnels, sometimes they just get stuck. The connection seems up, but nothing's flowing right. So to manually reset those tunnels on the gateway, the command is VPN2. It basically tears down the tunnel and rebuilds it. It's the IT classic, turn it off and on again before that specific tunnel. Super useful for clearing up those stubborn connection problems.
Right, the old reset trick. Makes sense for a stuck connection. Now this next one. Fwassel off. This sounds totally counterintuitive. What's Secure XL again? And why on earth would you turn off something that's meant to speed things up? That seems backwards, doesn't it?
Huh. Yeah, it definitely sounds weird at first. Secure XL is Check Point's acceleration technology. It makes the firewall way faster by offloading packet processing, hardware, special software paths, that kind of thing. So yes, turning it off slows things down, but temporarily disabling it with Fwassel off is actually a critical troubleshooting step sometimes.
Oh,
Well, imagine you've got this super fast race car, but it's making a weird noise you can't quite place. You might pull over, maybe turn off the turbo or some other performance feature just to hear the basic engine more clearly, right? Same idea here. You might turn off Secure XL if you suspect a performance issue itself is the problem. Or, and this is common, if you need really deep, granular packet inspection. The accelerated path is optimized, so sometimes it can obscure subtle details.
Ah, okay. So you slow down the processing to get a better look at what's really happening to the packets.
Exactly, and it brings up a good point, right? That trade-off. How much performance are you willing to sacrifice for that deep visibility when you're troubleshooting?
Are there times when disabling it is the first thing you'd try? Or maybe times when it's risky?
Good question. It's often pretty high on the list if you suspect weird packet drops or performance glitches that don't make sense with the firewall rules,
Yeah.
because that acceleration path can hide things. But yeah, you got to be careful. On a busy production system, leaving Fwackle off for too long, that could seriously impact performance, maybe even cause outages for users. So use it surgically. Turn it off, run your test, turn it back on. It's not meant to be left off.
Gotcha. Surgical. Okay. Moving beyond just network connections. User identity is huge, making sure the right people get the right access. How do we peek into that process? There's this command, PDP show users. What's the PDP daemon? Why is seeing who it recognizes important?
Right, the PDP, that's the policy decision point daemon. It's a really core piece. It's basically the enforcer. It looks at your security policy. It decides who gets to go where. The gatekeepers, essentially. So PDP show users. That command lists out all the users the PDP currently knows about, the ones it has identified. Understanding who the PDP sees is, well, it's fundamental if you're troubleshooting access problems or identity awareness issues. Like if someone says they can't access something, you run PDP show users. If they're not even on that list, the system doesn't know who they are yet. It helps you confirm if the policies are even being applied to the right person. It's like checking the guest list, you know?
Okay, so we've looked for clues in files and logs. We've used commands like VPN2 and fwaslov to intervene. But sometimes the issue isn't just a setting or a connection. It feels deeper, like the whole system is sick. When things get really hairy, what tools do you use to check the system's fundamental health? Get those deep diagnostics.
Yeah, when you need to check the system's pulse, especially in high availability setups where downtime is just not an option, a really vital command is cfaiprobstat.
CFAPROPStat. Okay, and for listeners maybe less familiar, what exactly is a cluster XL cluster? Why is its status so critical?
Sure. A cluster XL cluster is Check Point's way of doing high availability. Basically, you have redundant systems like two firewalls working together. If one fails, the other takes over seamlessly. Or, well, that's the idea. cfaiprobstat shows you the current status of each member in that cluster. Its health, its state like active or standby synchronization status, critical stuff. It's your window into whether that redundancy, that high availability, is actually working and ready. If the cluster isn't healthy, your backup might not take over when you need it most. That resilience is just theoretical then.
Okay, so cluster health is key. What about the health of the management processes themselves? I see CPM status mentioned. What's CPM?
CPM status. That checks the Checkpoint Process Manager, or CPM. Think of CPM as the system's own, like internal doctor or watchdog. Its job is to monitor all the other critical checkpoint processes, and if one of them crashes or stops responding, CPM's job is to restart it automatically.
Yeah.
So checking CPM status is super important. It tells you if that watchdog itself is okay and if the core security services are running and being monitored properly. I actually had this one time. Spent hours chasing a config error. Turned out the CPM process itself was stuck. Running CPM status first would have saved me my whole afternoon. So, yeah, check the watchdog.
Huh. A classic war story there. Always check the basics, even the watchdog.
Okay, and speaking of processes crashing, core dumps. People hear about them. They're generated when stuff crashes, but they can be huge files, right? What's the practical problem they cause, and how does the core dump manager utility help? You nailed it. They can be massive. And while they're incredibly valuable for figuring out why something crashed, they're like a memory snapshot at the moment of failure. On a busy system, these dumps can pile up fast. They can eat gigabytes, even terabytes of disk space really quickly, and that's a problem. Running out of disk space can destabilize the whole system. So the core dump manager utility, its job is to manage those files. It limits how many are kept, how big they can get. It stops the diagnostics themselves from becoming a resource hog. It's basically housekeeping for crash data. Essential housekeeping.
Makes sense. Got to clean up after the crashes. Now, here's a command that sounds intense. FWCST OABTLDE debug of tachem all on. That sounds like you're flipping all the switches. Powerful, maybe even a bit risky. When would you use something that comprehensive?
You're right to be cautious. It is intense. It's definitely not your first step. FWCTL debug-M all on enables full kernel debugging. for all modules. This gives you an unbelievable amount of detailed information right down at the kernel level. You'd only really use this for those really deep, stubborn problems where the standard logs just aren't telling you enough. When you suspect something's wrong way down in the core operating system or the firewall kernel itself, it gives you this like microscopic view. But it generates a huge amount of data, and it can impact performance. So again, surgical use, last resort, often.
Wow. Okay, peeling back every layer of the onion, basically. All right, finally, one more tool, CPINFO. What's its main job? Why is it considered so essential for troubleshooting?
CPINFO. It's kind of the ultimate diagnostic collector. Its primary function is just to gather a huge amount of information about the system's state. We're talking logs, configuration files, running processes, hardware info, network stats. Just about everything relevant. It packages all this up neatly. You'd run this if you need to do a really deep analysis yourself, or very commonly you run it to generate a file to send to technical support, like Check Point support. It gives them a comprehensive snapshot of your system at that moment. It's the send us a CPINFO tool. And while CPINFO is the Check Point name, pretty much any complex system has some kind of tool like this. That ability to gather comprehensive diagnostics is just crucial. Just how complex modern network security and infrastructure have become. And maybe more importantly, how much someone doing troubleshooting really needs to understand. Not just what the system is supposed to do, but how to listen to its faintest whispers and its loudest shouts and figure out what really matters, discerning that signal from all the noise.
That's a great point to ponder. We hope this deep dive into advanced troubleshooting has maybe sparked some ideas, given you some powerful new insights, maybe a few aha moments. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning,